Now this is a typical question on transformations of graphs. What we've got here is the curve C1 has the equation y equals x squared x plus 2, which we've got a sketch of here, and it crosses the x-axis at -2 and it touches at the origin here at 0. And we've got the curve C2 has this equation where k is a constant and it's greater than 2, and we've got to sketch this curve C2 showing the coordinates of the point where C2 meets the x and y axes. Now can you see a resemblance between these two equations? If I was to let f of x, say, equal the equation of the curve C1, in other words x squared x plus 2, then for C2, okay, what I'm doing is replacing any x in this equation with x minus k. In other words, I'm doing f of x minus k. And that's going to mean that I get the equation, instead of x squared, it'll be x minus k all squared. And instead of x plus 2, it's going to be x minus k for the x and then the plus 2. So you can see it's generated this curve C2. Now you should be familiar with what this transformation does. Well, we know that k is a positive number and it's greater than 2, but for the moment it's a positive number, and if you did f of x minus a positive number, what this does to the original graph is it translates it to the right by k units. So if it were, say, x minus 2, the graph would move to the right by 2 units. This graph would move to the right by 2 units. But we know that k is greater than 2. So what's going to happen then, if we just sketch it now, is that we'll put our axes on, but our curve here is going to shift to the right by more than 2 units, by k units. So this point here, which is at -2, if we shift it across k units, where k is more than 2, then it's going to cross the x-axis at a point here, say. And that point will be k units added on to the -2, so it'd be k minus 2. And as for the origin, that will move across k units, so this point here would be k. So the graph is going to look something like this. It's going to come up through the k minus 2, bend at the top here, round there, flatten off there, and then go up again like this. So this would be C2. Now it says we've got to show the coordinates of points where C2 meets the x and y axis. Well, I've shown where it meets the x-axis at k minus 2 and k, but what about the y-axis? Well, for this point here, this is going to be when x equals 0. So if we see what we get when x equals 0, you can see that y would equal minus k all squared, so we'll just put this down, y equals minus k all squared, and then you've got multiplied by minus k plus 2, or 2 minus k, it would look better, I feel, 2 minus k. So we've got minus k, if you square it, is going to be k squared, and then that is being multiplied by 2 minus k. So hope you can see that, but that's where it crosses the y-axis at the point k squared 2 minus k. Alright.